You're listening to the Dynamic Thinking Project podcast. This is episode 27, and today's topic is propaganda. Hey everyone, Adam Musalli here. Welcome to the Dynamic Thinking Project podcast. If this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. This podcast is released every Friday, and show notes are found at the website, themindtechinstitute.com. It's all one word. Come back often and feel free to add this podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow me on Twitter and Facebook. All links are in the show notes and website. And now, let's get started. As we continue our unofficial series on the media deception and mass mind control and influence, today we are going to talk about propaganda. Propaganda is information that is used primarily to influence an audience and to push for an agenda, often by presenting facts selectively as cherry-picking information to encourage a particular synthesis or perception, or using loaded language to produce an emotional rather than a rational response to the information that is being presented. Propaganda is often associated with materials prepared by governments and also by activist groups, and of course by campaigns in the corporate world, and of course the media can produce propaganda. Propaganda has been around for a very long time. However, in the 20th century, the term propaganda has been associated with the manipulative approach, but propaganda historically was a neutral, descriptive term. A wide range of materials and media are used for conveying propaganda messages, and of course that changed as new technologies were invented, such as paintings, cartoons, posters, pamphlets, films, motion pictures, radio shows, TV, and the internet. In Mein Kampf 1925, Hitler expounded his theory of propaganda, which provided a powerful base for his rise to power in 1933. Robert Enzor, a historian, explains that Hitler puts no limit on what can be done by propaganda. People will believe anything provided they are told it often enough and empathically enough, and that contradictors are either silenced or smothered in calumny. Most propaganda in Nazi Germany was produced by the Ministry of Public Enlightenment and propaganda under Joseph Goebbels. During World War II, the use of propaganda continued as a weapon of war, building on the experience they had back in World War I by Goebbels and the British Political Warfare Executive, as well as the United States Office of War Information. And if you notice the names of those war propaganda offices and how similar they are as described in George Orwell book 1984. Joseph Goebbels, who was the propaganda minister for Hitler, he said, "If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. The lie can be maintained for only such time as the state can shield the people from the political, economical, and/or military consequences of the lie. It thus becomes vitally important for the state to use all of its power to repress dissent, for the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus, by expansion, the truth is the greatest enemy of the state." End quote. You see, there are lots of things to be said about this subject, and there is a big flow of information in my head, but unfortunately, there isn't enough time to talk about everything related to propaganda in this episode. But I'll do my best to cover the most important information that I can give you in such a short time now. And in future episodes, we'll expand more, explaining about many sub-branches of propaganda, including the past and recent propaganda cases, But at least for now, let's start with the basics or the big picture. As you know by now, I work in the field of education, training, and psychology. As a matter of fact, I teach hypnosis and NLP. And NLP is an abbreviation of Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which can be studied online at our website, themindtechinstitute.com. Personally speaking, as well as almost everyone who studied with us hypnosis and NLP, have been reported the same thing, which is we don't see the world anymore as everyone else does. Why? Simply because we know the tricks and we can easily and quickly identify when there is a trick has been pulled on us. We know when there is a propaganda because an NLP graduate is actually a master of communication, at least our branch of NLP or our graduates, because our NLP is based on science, not some wishy stuff. The point here is it isn't easy to trick a trickster. And we can see the tricks which have been pulled on everyone by the media. The tricks advocating fear and social instability to push an agenda further and further by compounding more fear and scarcity in people. The fear that there isn't enough for everyone in this world, while only less than 1%, or better say a fraction of the 1% of the world's population, have everything. And I'm not talking about some successful people who earned their fortune by ethical means and by hard work. I'm talking about the real owners of this world as George Carlin describes them. Now, you might be thinking, what's the point? Think of it this way. In order to control the masses, you have to keep them occupied mentally and physically. So you introduce different sects of religions, political groups, and ideologies to keep them fighting with each other. Inject their minds with fear and scarcity to promote hate and lead them to destroy each other from within, while the 1% are collecting the resources of the aftermath. There is a lot of money in wars, if you don't already know that. And do you know what's the most effective and efficient technique in mind control to manipulate, contain, and control the masses? 7.6 billion people as of November 2017. It's one word. Fear. All you have to do is just install fear in the minds and you can lead them to anything you want. There's definitely going to be another episode about this, but let me give you an example. And keep in mind, as we teach in our NLP and hypnosis training, that everything you hear, you see, you read, influences the way you think and behave. Now, here's a question for you. When was the last time you watched or you saw something positive on the news? Of course, never. Because good and positive news don't sell, and certainly doesn't install any fear and scarcity to control you. If you watch the news these days, you might think these humans are getting worse and the world is getting less and less safe and everything is getting more dangerous. But nothing can be further from the truth. Many professors, such as Dr. Steve Pinker from Harvard University and others, did a study and found out that this is the safest time to be alive as a human. Regardless what is presented to you on the news, but really, it's the safest time to be alive. Here are some statistics from the Bureau of Justice and from the FBI's website. Since 1993, firearm homicides have dropped 39%. Non-fatal firearm accidents have gone down 69%. But now, if you watch the news, you think the exact opposite of that. You think that it's getting worse right now. But in reality, it's just the language they use when presenting the news. and that is neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. This is what I'm telling you we teach online. We know this because we teach it. We know the type of language they're presenting the news with because we are the tricksters. Of course, for ethical reasons and for ethical outcome. Now, let's talk about the rest of the world. What do you think? Is the rest of the world getting safer? It absolutely is. The amount of death per year per capita from war across the world is only 1 out of 12 of what it was back in the 1950s. This is the safest time to be alive as a human. Now, you might ask yourself, why would the news concentrate so much on negativity if the world is actually getting better? Well, the reason is because they understand the way your brain works. You see, your brain is designed to look for negative, and the reason why is because your brain wants you to stay alive. So it focuses on negative. If the news puts out more and more negative, you're more likely to watch. Your brain is going to get addicted to watch that negativity, which in turns into more advertising revenue and dollars for the news companies that you're watching. And for those who are, of course, pushing agendas and benefiting from such news. So, of course, the world seems more negative, and of course, it seems like the world is getting worse, but there has never been a time where it has been more safe to be human than right now. The world isn't negative, but who runs it makes it seem negative. So what can you learn from this? Instead of watching the news and allow them to brainwash you, you can brainwash yourself instead. You can start reading books that helps. You can watch some instructional or educational things. And always keep in mind, no matter what you watch or read, it's going to brainwash you. It's going to resonate in you and manifest in your behaviors. So why don't you brainwash yourself with something that's going to be at least beneficial for you and maybe help others with it, instead of what the media continues to feed you? Because if you continue to consume what they feed you, you're going to have to deal with the outcome that's going to happen in your mind and your life. You see, nothing can be further from the truth. Mens sana in corpore sano. That means a healthy mind in a healthy body. So be responsible in how you provide that healthy environment for your mind and how you keep your body healthy. And again, if you're interested now to learn hypnotherapy, neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, life management, and many other courses now are totally available online. You can now become a fully qualified NLP and hypnotherapy practitioner and master practitioner totally online. All you have to do is visit themindtechinstitute.com, click on the online courses tab, and you'll find all the courses on that page. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, you can email me. The email is on our website, themindtechinstitute.com. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, especially if you are listening to this podcast on YouTube. The Dynamic Thinking Project podcast is released every Friday. Until next time, take care and enjoy your weekend. This is Aram Musalli, signing out.